Yeah, welcome everybody at another edition of Dutch Data Science Week Real Time. And now I'm joined by Frank Austin Nothaft, who's the Director of Healthcare at Databricks. Frank, thanks for joining.
Yeah, pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine. Great to be here.
Heard you were traveling around throughout Europe this entire week.
Indeed.
What did your itinerary look like again?
I started out the week in the San Francisco Bay Area, then was in Boston yesterday. I'm here in Amsterdam today, then spend the next 2 days out in the British Isles.
Perfect. So thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule. Later this afternoon, you will be doing a presentation and a workshop about genomics.
Yep. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. Really excited to have it as part of the Dutch Data Science Week. But yeah, this afternoon we will be doing a walkthrough on what we do on the Databricks platform to enable data science plus data engineering at scale, with a specific look at what we're doing in the healthcare and life sciences space geared on genomics.
Yeah. What kind of applications should I think of when it's about genomics?
Great question. We wind up looking at genomics as typically touching on three different areas. So, what people often think of genomics as being used for today is precision healthcare. Taking someone who has been diagnosed with the disease and using their genetic information to treat them more efficiently, more accurately, more safely. But we also see a lot of opportunities in predictive healthcare, so identifying what diseases you might fall risk for and getting you into preventative treatment for that so you don't wind up developing that disease. You don't need precision healthcare. And then also we see a lot of work in the research and development space, both across pharmaceuticals, diagnostic development, as well as other areas like agriculture.
Yeah, it's kind of a big area of application, so it seems.
It definitely, and when you get into each one of those, there's each one of those three different areas. There's a lot of techniques that are shared between the three of them, but you apply them with a different lens in each problem.
Yeah. And your role, you're the Director of Healthcare at Databricks.
Yeah. So I'm the technical director for healthcare and life sciences at Databricks. Been with Databricks for about 2.5 years. Originally came out of the open source area. We'd been working on the Big Data Genomics Atom project, one of the first Spark-based toolkits for genomics. And then over my time at Databricks, we've really expanded out healthcare and life sciences as a key area for us. It was our first industrial vertical that we focused on. And we've really pushed far out into what people are doing with genomic data, what people are doing with medical imaging data, what people are doing with clinical information that gets reported when you go to the doctor.
Yeah. The Atom project. Could you tell a bit more about what that encompasses?
Definitely. So to set the scene a bit, so we started working on Atom in 2013. And the big trend that was starting to come up was a lot of these projects were starting in genomics that were the first projects to sequence terabytes to tens of terabytes of genetic data, and people were previously processing this on their legacy high performance computing on premises architecture. And this was just when Spark was coming out as a toolkit. So Spark entered the Apache incubator in the fall of 2013. We started developing Atom on Spark.
Still only 6 years ago, right?
I know. It's incredible as to how fast the ecosystem has emerged. But we started when Spark was 0.5 alpha.
Yeah.
And with Atom, we built out a set of common schemas on top of Spark for representing genomic data, originally using Avro. We used Parquet as a storage layer for that data. We would load in data from the traditional genomic file formats, make it accessible, available, easy to query on top of Spark, and built out a number of analysis primitives downstream of that. So that gave us a lot of valuable information about how to architect these applications. We were able to demonstrate, some very good performance acceleration relative to the compute infrastructure that was out there at the start. And we, got to experiment a lot with what are the correct APIs for manipulating large amounts of genomic data at scale on distributed computing, but in a way that a domain scientist would understand and not have to really stretch their thinking.
Yeah. And what happened with the Atom project, and how did it get associated with Databricks?
Great question. So from the time that we started, Atom grew from a core group of about five developers out to a project that's had contributions from over 75 individuals in open source. And the way I actually got involved with Databricks was, had a couple of customers that were looking at using Atom. Databricks was looking to support it better for the customers that wanted to run that. Reached out to me.
All came together.
Exactly. Yeah. So we all came together. We have a number of customers that use Atom, have a number of customers who use other open source libraries as well. We have Atom built into our Databricks healthcare and life sciences runtime, so it's pre-installed. We use it in some of our genome sequencing pipelines. And then since then, we've actually started to look at kind of writing new open source libraries that take the lessons that we've learned from Atom, take the lessons we've seen from using people using other open source tools like the Hail tool that's out of the Broad Institute, trying to synthesize this into a better kind of next generation Spark-based framework for doing genomic analysis.
Could you tell a bit about the type of applications that you see? What kind of applications are you really proud of?
Oh no, it's a great question. The really probably the coolest part of my job is I just get to go ahead and sit down with a lot of the companies that we work with and see the coolest, hardest problems that they're solving. Probably the biggest challenge that we work with is actually at the Regeneron Genetics Center, one of the world's leading genome sequencing centers, sequenced over 650,000 individuals at exome coverage. And when working with data sets of that scale and magnitude, all of the challenges that you work with are just multiplied tremendously. But additionally, one of the big challenges that they think about is not just the straightforward, the obvious challenge of how do I do this computing at scale, but they think a lot about the usability questions, right? Regeneron may have, a strong team of people who really understand big data and big data in the context of genetics. But the challenge is taking the bench scientists, the people who are actually working in the lab, trying to understand the biology of the diseases that Regeneron focuses. They're not big data experts. They're not, they might not even be genomics experts. They understand genetics very well, but how do they get access to this data? How do they make sense of it? So they've done a lot of work about enabling these people through, UIs that drive big data, kind of BI for genomics.
And is there a specific use case that you could point to, like the topic, the theme of the Dutch Data Science Week is the impact of AI on society? So are there applications that normal Jack and Jill recognize that's what our tooling is used for?
Oh no, great question. And actually, like one of the pretty cool successes that Regeneron's had from their genetics program is that they've identified a lot of genes that drive diseases. So they've just using this data, they were able to find a specific gene that has a strong impact on a variety of different liver diseases and start to target that with new developments. What we've also seen that's very exciting, we do a lot of work in the U.S. with a health system in a part of the country that has an interesting patient makeup that's not reflected well in traditional genetic studies. So this is the Sanford Health system. They're up in the Dakotas. And what they've gone ahead and they've done is they've used data that comes in from the physicians in the primary care setting. They've paired it with genetic data on a very large number of people. And they're using that, so they wind up using Databricks to analyze that genetic data and that clinical data, develop machine learning based classifiers that look at your personal genetics and predict what diseases you're likely to get. So then when the doctor comes in, when you come in for a doctor visit, the doctor can look at this and say, hey, we see that you're at higher risk for diabetes. We want to get you into this preventative treatment program earlier just based on your genetic risk profile.
So on a very early stage, you're able to help people to prevent diseases or prepare them for things ahead.
Exactly.
That's great. And this afternoon, people during your workshop, people are able to also go hands-on with the tooling.
We'll have a bit of a hands-on focus this afternoon. So.
Cool. Well, looking forward to that a lot. So thanks for taking the time again and being here at Dutch Data Science Week.
Pleasure is mine. It's a privilege to be here, and really glad to be here.
Great. That was it for this episode of Dutch Data Science Week Real Time. See you next time.